video is a video on how to get out of credit card debt using personal loans. Now, I am a little bit hesitant in suggesting that people consider personal loans to get out of credit card debt. And the reason behind that is often I see people who have got credit card debt and they go and take out a personal loan and they end up in double trouble. And the reason behind that is because they haven't fixed their bad money spending habits. So for example, and look, you may have experienced this yourself, but say for example someone comes to me and says I've got $7,000 owing on this card and $5,000 owing on another card, and they say I'm going to take out a personal loan of $12,000 and clear both cards. Initially that's fine, that's great, both credit cards are cleared and they've got a personal loan sitting aside that they can slowly pay off. And often what triggers people to go and take out these personal loans is a special introductory offer on the interest rate that buys them some time to kind of get on track again with their finances. But what tends to happen is people in their mind think, oh, it's great, my 2 credit cards are cleared. I've shifted my personal loan over there and I don't need to worry about it too much because it's just going to pay itself off over time. And their money habits remain the same, and before they know it, a year has passed and they're back up to owing $12,000 on credit cards again, but they've also got the $12,000 personal loan over there, so they're now in $24,000 worth of debt. I'm not saying personal loans are a bad thing. What I'm simply saying is you need to make sure you use a personal loan to get out of credit card debt in the most efficient and effective manner possible. This video that I've made for you are some guidelines for you to follow that will make sure that if you use this type of strategy to get out of debt, you get out of it as quickly as possible and you don't make the same habits again and repeat history. So step number 1 is get focused and get excited. When you are debt-free, it feels great. You feel lighter, you feel proud, you feel happy, you feel excited about all the things you can do because you're not held back by some dirty, dark, toxic debt holding you back in life. And the longer it takes you to get out of debt, the bigger the lesson you needed to learn. So often I find when I've coached people out of debt, and I mean seriously big debts, when they finally get to the end of the repayment plan where they make that last final payment, they've really learnt their lesson and they become almost hyper vigilant about repeating the same mistake again, and they become so protective of their financial success and what they've achieved in getting out of debt on their own, learning the lesson, growing from the experience, that they don't want to make the same mistake again. So my question to you is, what does it mean to you, or what is important to you about being debt-free? Is it relief? Is it freedom? Is it luxury? Is it choice? Is it just general security? Whatever it may be, work it out and then use those feelings to help, anchor and harness your motivation and focus to make your goals incredibly powerful and help trigger the right action behind those goals. Step number 2 is do a budget. It goes without saying you're not going to be able to pay off your debt unless you make repayments, and probably extra repayments if possible. So my advice to you is do a budget. Firstly, the budget will allow you to work out how much money you need to survive, because you don't want to be paying off one debt over here and then creating a new debt over here just to live. You need to know what expenses you have on a weekly basis, monthly basis, quarterly basis, annual basis, so that you don't go 2 steps forwards, 1 step back. Once you've done the budget, then that enables you to do 2 more things. 1, it enables you to work out how much you can afford in a repayment plan towards that debt reduction. Whether it be $100 a month, $200, $300 a month, it doesn't matter. The point is you're making repayments and trying to get that debt down as fast as possible. The second thing that a budget allows you to do is review and analyze each expense in your spending habits and work out if there's any opportunity or room to either cut down or completely eliminate any frivolous spending that could maybe just be put on hold until you get out of debt, because that will free up your cash flow to be able to make additional lump sum repayments that are again going to help you get out of debt so much faster. Now, if you've never done a budget or don't have one, it's okay. I've actually done a video on how to do a budget, and if you go to the Sugar Mama website, you can actually subscribe and you'll get an email with a link to download a complimentary budget which I've designed myself. So there are no excuses for not doing a budget, even if you're not in debt. Step number 3 is set goals and keep them in sight. You need to have a defined line in the sand that has a time and date that you want to be debt-free. Don't make a goal to be debt-free in 3 months' time or 6 months' time, because that goalpost is constantly pushed forward. It will always be in 3 months' time. But if you say to yourself, okay, by the 1st of December 2016, I am going to be debt-free, you put a lot more action and power behind that goal, and you're more likely to actually achieve that goal because you have the pressure of the defined deadline. You should also break those goals into smaller baby goals where you actually stipulate exactly how much debt you want paid off by that particular date. So say, for example, you have $3,000 owing on your credit card. You might say, okay, by the 1st of August or the 1st of October, I'm going to have my credit card reduced by $1,000, which will mean I'll only owe $2,000 on my credit card, and have a particular date aligned with that. Now, these goals ideally should be written down and placed somewhere where you see them, if possible, every day, if not twice a day. And in previous videos, I've suggested ideas where you have it written on your bedside table, so you see it in the morning when you wake up, and at nighttime when you go to bed, or next to your toothbrush. But if you're a bit worried about people seeing these goals because they might be quite private, you could do things like write a little note in your wallet. Another idea is you have an image that symbolizes your goal to remind you, and that could be the screensaver on your phone or on your computer desktop, whatever it may be. It just needs to remind you on a regular basis what you are working towards, so that you don't get distracted, lose focus, because you really want to achieve this goal as quickly as possible. Another really powerful step when you're setting these goals is to think about your big long-term goal or dream. And a classic example of this is when people come to see me and they really want to start saving to buy their first home, but they're in credit card debt. So what I will recommend that they do is have the goal of buying a home, but make sure that they understand and they connect the realization that they need to have the debt reduction and elimination as a priority before they can move on to achieving their next goal. So when you set your goals, make sure you don't forget about the big ones, because they are just as important as keeping you motivated and focused. Step number 4 is track, monitor, and review. This is really important because, again, it's going to help you feel good about the progress you're making and see that there is light at the end of the tunnel. Now, I don't mind how you do this. There are lots of different ways, but whatever way you do, just make sure it works for you. You might be able to use Excel spreadsheet, or just write it on a notepad, or put it in your computer or a note in your mobile phone. It doesn't matter as long as you do it. But what I want you to do is write down the date and exactly how much money you owe and who to. Every week you look at that number and you see if it's changed or improved at all. And then every time you make an additional lump sum repayment towards that debt, you add a note, and you can actually track it if you're using an Excel spreadsheet and actually see visually, so you get even more excited and see the actual graph of the number actually drop and decline over time. And the exciting part is you can actually use this tracking, reviewing, monitoring technique to actually see your wealth accumulate once you're debt free, and seeing that line gradually and steadily grow as your wealth becomes, I guess, more secure and stable, and obviously compounds and grows with smart financial decisions. That is really empowering and exciting to watch. Step number 5 is celebrate your successes. Even when you achieve those baby goals, stop and take the time to acknowledge what you've achieved, feel proud, and give yourself a much needed pat on the back. Then go and reward yourself with something nice. It doesn't need to be expensive, and definitely don't go putting it on a credit card, because obviously you'll just be getting yourself back in debt again, which is what we want to avoid. And also, once you've achieved that goal and enjoyed your reward, make sure you set up a new reward to work towards. So if you have been honest and dedicated to the journey and lessons of debt and getting out of debt, you should have established some really healthy financial habits. Now, when you are debt-free, life gets exciting because you now have a choice. You can, of course, continue on with your life, staying out of debt, which is great, and being a lot more responsible with your cash flow. But there's also another option available to you. If you wanted to, you can build a much bigger and better and more secure financial future for yourself. Because with that debt repayment plan that you've been, religiously paying off your debts with, you can now use that for other things. For example, you could use that money to establish some savings plans. You could use that money to start building your first investment portfolio and buy long-term passive income streams. Or you may have bigger and better financial goals where you want to start contributing towards your retirement planning and make your retirement date a lot sooner and a lot more luxurious. At the end of the day, the choice is yours, and I want you to realize you have so much power in your hands and so much ability in your hands to create a much happier, healthier, and harmonious financial future for yourself. That's it for Money Monday. I hope if you're in debt, you feel motivated and inspired to get out of debt as quickly as possible.